How's it going, guys? This is RaiderKnight, and today we're going to be talking about the rise and fall of Rucoy Online. Now, this is a game that I milked for views to death, and then I milked it to views and killed it again. But aside the jokes, Rucoy really is a epic game, and I do love the simple gameplay that Rucoy provides. Overall, leveling up and player killing, and pretty much doing whatever you want. Shit posting in chat and really doing whatever. I think Rucoy is really unlike a lot of games, and it's a lot more free than a lot of the restrictive MMORPGs that we see out there. And I think this is why Rucoy is so addictive, because I think if it wasn't so free and so open to really do whatever you want to do, I think it'd be a lot more boring, and it'd really be a lot more like other MMOs that have failed. Well, yes, they may not have failed, they just haven't done as good. Games like Glowstone, which is still fun, but it just doesn't have that Rucoy feel to it that I think makes Rucoy so great. But aside from all that, what we're going to be talking about is the rise and fall of Rucoy. And where you have to look when you're looking at the rise and fall of a game as big as Rucoy is you have to go to the beginning. And this beginning starts in January 1st of 2016, the release date of Rucoy Online. The game was released with a very limited amount of gameplay options. There was no PvP, and there was only 3 servers on the entire game: North America, South America, and Europe. The game had a very low player count per server, and from the words of Dead Flag himself, it was a extremely rare situation to have more than 10 players per server on the game at a time. Really, the game never saw a decent steady 10 player server number count until the Drow update, when new players started joining the game, and sometimes the 3 servers would reach insane numbers such as 20 people at a time. I know, kinda laughable, but this was what it looked like. And you might be asking, RaiderKnight, when did you join this game? When did you, start your own Rucoy history, blah blah blah. And I myself, I joined the game in late May, looking for a new game after I went to summer school because I failed algebra, which, yeah, that's some high quality RaiderKnight history if you didn't know. Failed algebra and had to go to summer school because, dang, I'm that intelligent. But yeah, I failed algebra and had to do summer school. It was actually not as bad as it sounds. All I had to do was just go in for one day, and I literally got the grade up. And yeah, that was all it was. It was not all of summer. It was just going in for one day and, doing things that you didn't do good at, and it got your grade back up. But I had to go to summer school, and after summer school, I was just, tired. I was looking for a new game to play, and I found Rucoy. The game had 10,000 players roughly that were downloading the game, and it was a really tiny game when I found it. And, I took the chance, I downloaded it, and I actually loved the game. And I remember I used to always hang out on the old European servers, and I just didn't really ever play on North America for the longest time, but the European servers were pretty fun. There were a lot of cool players on it, like DrakelX, and it was a lot of fun. I still got some old videos up on the channel where I played on Europe, so pretty cool. And it was a lot of fun playing Rucoy Online back then. When I started, my first day was literally just me grinding to get to level 100, and I got to level 100 on my first day and a half of playing. And I think that's when I slowed down a little bit, but when I grinded to level 100, it was like no life grinding, and I think that's what got me into Rucoy, was I just really loved the pace of it, and I really liked grinding for levels, and it was a lot of fun. It was really fun. About a week after I joined, there was the first update that I saw when I played the game, and that was the inventory update, which overhauled the inventory and allowed you to pick up and drop items. You might say, well, that is a very basic thing. How is that an overhaul? Well, it was pretty big because it meant the first instances of trading were in Rucoy, based off of picking up items and dropping them. Players for the first time ever could trade with each other technically, and while yes, picking up items and dropping them and trusting the other player to not steal from you is a risky way of trading, it was really the only way of trading items in the game at the time. And yes, there were a lot of scammers, but it didn't really affect me because I didn't need to trade in the first place, because I was already high enough level to farm in the drow areas, and I already had most of the items. I was set. I was pretty much maxed out at that point, and the only thing I couldn't get was the right drow glove, the rarest item in the game. There's still myths to this day that the right drow glove was so rare back then that it was just like deleted from the game by accident. That was the theory, at least. And I think, it's so rare back then that I could never find it, and I think a lot of other people couldn't find it either, that maybe the theory that it was deleted from the game was actually correct, because I know nowadays I'm finding them all over the place. The right drow glove is just not that rare, and you can just find it easily. But I remember back then it was so rare, and it was literally near impossible to find, so that was always a struggle to, find it. But yeah, that's kind of the starting history of Rucoy, and the game never really saw a decent server player jump into the Lizard update, and this is when the game really started to blow up. The rise of Rucoy. Now, before the rise of Rucoy in July-ish 2016, I joined my first guild, which was the KOR, also known as KOE, the Kingdom of Escalon. And another guild that was a part of KOE was Roar, also known as the Revolution of Rucoy. And this being my first guild was a lot of fun. It was led by Volk, and it was a lot of fun to just do BR battles on NA1. The BR would swarm the server, attack us, and we would always win because we get that epic victory royale on the NA servers because we don't let the BR boss us around. Ironically, my biggest rival from the BR got banned for botting, so, that explains a lot, because I remember struggling to beat that player at level 150-ish, and somehow I still managed to beat them, and they were like level 280. But aside from all the, bragging, it was a lot of fun being in that guild, and the battles with the BR was a lot of fun. Probably some of the best times in Rucoy was just being in that guild, fighting other BR players, and yeah, it was probably the most fun Rucoy was for me personally. But when the Lizard update was added, this was the biggest update Rucoy had ever seen. It overhauled the new additions into the game, such as player shops and the Lizard zones themselves and the Lizard gear. This update is probably the most influential update in my opinion, and also added training weapons into the game, which are also a blessing, but they're a curse as well. Training weapons is the reason why I get spammed on a constant basis of people saying, RaiderKnight, why do you never train in this game? And I always reply, I say, it's boring. It's boring. I just don't like training. But for real though, I've just never enjoyed training. Me myself, I've just always enjoyed leveling in Rucoy, and while occasionally I do train, it's just more fun to level up in my opinion. Spend the whole day training, or spend 1 or 2 or 3 hours farming. It's just more fun in my opinion, and that's why I don't really train, because it takes up a lot of time, and it's not really worth it in my opinion. After the massive Lizard update was added into the game, we saw some smaller updates, such as the first ever Halloween update, which added the Halloween changes in the village, while also adding the first ever boss to the game, the Cursed Willow. And this boss is pretty basic, pretty generic. You've probably seen it before, or it's not called the Cursed Willow, it's called the Haunted Willow, my mistake. But you've seen this boss before, probably. It's just a tree, and yeah. After the Halloween boss was added, a few more smaller bosses were added, such as Cayman the Cursed, the Goblin Lord, and the Lizard Boss, also known as General Crinnock. And this was a great update. A lot of people loved the bosses, and everything was going perfect in terms of updates until dun dun dun, Diamond update. And this update added diamonds to the game. Was the game doomed to be a play-to-win game, or pay-to-win game, or a free-to-play game? And the game is still free-to-play. Diamonds, yes, they had a small role, and it's debated whether they could be pay-to-win or not. But in my opinion, it's still a free-to-play game for the most part. So nothing really too big of a deal there. The main thing you can buy with diamonds is just cosmetic anyway. After the Diamond update, we saw the major update of the Dragon update, and in December of 2016, I would say Rucoy had its biggest player jump it's ever seen ever. The Dragon update was followed a couple days later by the Christmas update, and there were like literally 500 players on every server at like all times. I remember this, it was crazy. But there were so many players per server, all waiting at the 2 spots to find the Santa boss for, it was 24/7. People would just be on the servers in one spot waiting for the Santa boss. It was crazy. Because everybody wanted the Swift Boots, and the Swift Boots, of course, you only got one chance to get them from the Santa boss, or at least back then you did, but so many people waited for the Santa boss. It was literally crazy. Again, 500 people per server almost. And I remember that was probably the biggest Rucoy number jump that the game has ever seen and ever probably will see again. Unless we get lucky and another update comes in the future. But 500 players per server, it was insane. After the Dragon update and the Christmas event, what we saw a few months later in March of 2017 was the Ice update. The Ice update added the arena, the ice zones, and the ice armor to the game, and the slime to the game, and probably was one of the biggest updates Rucoy had ever seen. Definitely up there with the Dragon update, and definitely up there with the Lizard update in terms of quality. But after the Ice update, we would never see another Rucoy update again until June of 2017. The Team Dungeon update. And the Team Dungeon update was met with a lot of people disappointed in Rucoy and the direction it was going. The Team Dungeon update added Lizard 4, Vampire 3, and Drow 3, and player stalls, and a lot more Diamond additions were added. So a lot of people got angry at GM Rucoy because the wait for the update was such a long time and there really wasn't anything good in it. And essentially the game, a lot of people left, and the game was, I think this is the point that really defined Rucoy Online going downhill, because nothing has really been the same since this point. The year of 2017, we got the Halloween update, which added 2 new bosses, Lock Locka, and it added the Pumpkin King, and we also saw the pendants added for the first time. And a lot of people didn't like this update because it was so tiny, and it was really tiny. It didn't really add anything new to the game. And we've waited so long already when this update was added that people just, they didn't really try as much, or they did try for a little bit, then they just slowed down and quit. And I think this is really the last time we saw any important thing added to the game at all. Christmas came around and they only added one thing, which was the Evil Snowman. And the Evil Snowman is the final update Rucoy has ever seen, except for the small animation changes, which were not that important. And that is the final update of Rucoy, was the Evil Snowman. Pretty sad, pretty pathetic, and a sad way to die out, essentially. 2018 came around, and the game, it was dead. Nobody played, and as we all know, the servers slowly lost players to its current number, which is very tiny, at around 50, 30 players per server. Sometimes it goes up to 100, but that's only on the bigger servers nowadays, and it's sad to see how Rucoy Online has gone from such a great game to a dead game, or a dying game. Now, Rucoy isn't doomed to die forever. It could always rebuild itself with a new update, which we hope will come out one day. But as of recording this video, it is January 7th, 2019, and there's still no update in the game. The game has died, and it's really sad to see how Rucoy can go from this game where we saw updates on a monthly basis to a game where there is nothing for an entire year, and the community is just disappearing slowly but steadily. And it's sad, but that is the history of Rucoy, the rise and the fall. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. My editor was messing up for this part of the video, so it just randomly clipped out here for some reason. But what I was going to try to say for the end of this video was, thanks for watching. This video is mostly about the rise and fall of Rucoy. Again, the editor messed up and kind of clipped the video weird at the end, and the editor just wouldn't work correctly, so I had to make another clip for this final part. But hopefully you stuck around for the whole video. It was a fun one to make. I think it was a sad video to make while also being a video that kind of needed to be made at the same time. I know a lot of you guys want me to continue making Rucoy videos, and why, yes, I do want to continue making Rucoy videos. It's just that the pace of making Rucoy videos that I was making, like daily Rucoy, weekly Rucoy, or whatever, it's just not that fun to do anymore when there's just no updates for the game. But then again, I might be wrong, because we just got the bombshell of an update today known as the yellow text update. Now, this is just my opinion, but the yellow text update is the greatest update of all time. Hopefully, we get more updates like it. Overall, Rucoy is a dead game, and I don't know. Hopefully it revives itself. I miss Rucoy, I really do. We need the game back. We need the community to return, kinda. I don't know. But we need an update, or none of that will ever happen, I don't think. So, it's up to the GM. It's really nobody else's fault if Rucoy dies. I think a lot of people in the community want to see the game survive, so they keep playing and just keep playing the game normally. But I know a lot of people are just sick of the same old. But in terms of the game, I do hope that we will eventually see an update. I don't know when it will be, but I do have a small hope myself. But overall, passing the question on to you guys, what do you guys think? Do you think Rucoy is just going to die, or do you think it has a chance to, revive itself? I just don't know, but it's a sad story nonetheless, and I just want to say, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all for the next one, whenever that video is. Peace.